are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure.
Welcome to the Marriage Adventure Podcast. We're your hosts, Daniel and Bonnie Hoover. And today we're going to talk about something that we know every married couple deals with at some points. And it's sometimes hard. It's hard to figure out. It's hard to deal with. It's hard to pinpoint, but you got to deal with it. And so we're going to want to talk about romance and why romance drifts in marriage.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question right out of the gate.
Okay.
When was the last time, not you, but the audience, when was the last time that you truly felt pursued by your spouse? Well, I guess I could ask you that question too, Daniel. But I don't mean just not loved, not supported, not appreciated, but pursued.
Yep. We had a busy morning. Well, there's something really powerful about knowing that your spouse is intentionally choosing you again, right? I mean, that's sexy, right?
Yeah.
That's powerful. It means a lot. And they're not just living life beside you. Yes, we do have bills to pay and we have things that we have to do. We have responsibilities,
Sure.
but within that as well. And so if you're listening and you're thinking, yeah, it's been a while, we want you to hear something that it doesn't mean your marriage is broken. It's probably more normal.
Yep.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that things are going wrong, but sometimes when the romance kind of dies down, it means that maybe we've drifted in some ways, and drift is kind of sneaky in marriage. It doesn't really happen overnight, and I mean, you can genuinely love each other and still slowly start living more like roommates instead of like being romantic with each other like you were when you first started dating.
Yeah, and so on our last podcast episode, we talked about emotional drift happening.
Yep.
And so this week we want to kind of take that next step is when the emotional drift happens, then the romance drift happens as well.
Usually the romance drift happens before the emotional drift,
right. That's right. So we want to answer 3 really important questions. So here's the first one. How do you know if romance is actually dying in your marriage or if life got busy, kind of like with emotions?
Yep.
Right?
Second, why does romance feel so much harder now than when you were first dating or first married?
And then I'm always tired.
Yeah.
You
don't have time.
Teenagers, just
You're exhausted.
Tired, right?
Yep.
And then third, how do you rekindle it in the way that doesn't feel awkward, forced, or fake?
Yep. Because romance in marriage doesn't really disappear because love disappears. It's most of the time because you stop pursuing the other person. So let's talk about how we restart it.
All right. So let's talk about that slow drift of romance. When we were first married, man, romance was easy, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll say this, we had a lot more time and a lot more energy.
That's true.
Well, and I think this is really an important thing we're talking about because a lot of times when the romance, when you're dating, it's that limerence. It's like you can't help but love the other person. Oh, I just want to do everything for you because you're awesome. And you are a lot more selfless during that season. And the problem is a couple of years into the relationship, when it fades, people think that the whole relationship's broken. And then they want to go chase that romantic feeling again.
Yeah, because it was motivated by chemicals.
Yeah,
it's the brain.
Euphoric.
Yeah, you can't help it, right? But then later, it's got to be motivated by choice.
Yeah,
which makes it more special and more real.
Right.
You
just don't sometimes get the ooey gooey feelings you had early on, and people think they're broken.
Right. Yeah. And so it's kind of like, well, I don't know. That illustration breaks down. I won't go there. But anyway, it rarely dies suddenly.
Right.
Kind of like everything else we've talked about, like with emotional, it fades through neglect. Mm-hmm. And so you don't experience just a dramatic collapse. It just kind of happens over it. A quiet shift happens.
Mm-hmm. And I think that comes because whether you realize it or not, little by little, the pursuit of the other person stops. It's like, well, I've got you now.
The pursuit of each individual, too.
Right. The pursuit, and you're being less intentional about it. When you're dating and first married, it's like, we have to make intentional time because we're not living together. We're not together all the time. Mm-hmm. So you are very intentional about pursuing the other person, and you're curious because you're trying to get to know them, and all that stuff happens. Mm-hmm. But then once you settle into a season of life,
Not curious anymore.
no, I know you.
Yeah.
I know 30 years in, it is very rare you say something that I'm shocked by, that I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. You really don't want to be shocked 30 years in.
Well, well,
That's not.
you know. Well, even okay. So last night, for example, we went to dinner, and I was waiting for you at the front door, and you.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You came out of the bathroom. You were ready to leave, and I said, "Hey, they're the mints," and you're like,
I was
"Hey."
literally looking for the mint jar, and I was behind you. You didn't see me looking for the mint jar.
No, but
And,
while I was waiting, I happened to notice it, and I don't care anything about the mints. But every time you come out of a restaurant, you want the mints
It
at the door,
should be a law
right?
that they have mints there.
And you're like, "Hey, that's exactly what I was looking for." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, I know you."
Which there's such wonderful. That's romantic in itself.
Yeah,
But it's not curious,
sure.
right? And
I've already figured that out about you.
Curiosity, it not only killed the cat, but it made it very euphoric while it killed him. So, but yeah. So what we do as couples is we just begin operating in this life management mode, right? And so they don't fall out of love. We just fall out of intentionality. And they do not make, I'm telling you, man, they don't make Hallmark movies about intentionality.
No.
They make it about the euphoria, about the meeting or rekindling. After 20 years, he moved to the city and became a corporate lawyer. And
Then he comes back to the farm.
she owned a wedding venue, Christmas tree farm, right? And so
There's nothing wrong with those stories. They're awesome.
They are awesome because they're predictable.
Sure.
They're comfortable.
Yep.
So see, there's
But there's
beauty
romance
in
in it. You
yeah.
know?
So how does this happen? In on my coaching video, I kind of likened it to this. I kind of use this illustration. So for years of my life, I ran 20, 30 years. And so running races, marathon, different things like that. And just for fun. And then I got to a season, right, where the kids were little, and it just took so much time to do these races. I just kind of, I stopped running and started introducing some other workout stuff. But if you work out, if you exercise, as long as you're working out, as long as you're exercising, man, you get this euphoric desire and high, and you enjoy working out, right? There's not every day.
This morning, what did I say?
Not every day, you're right? Yeah, this morning wasn't one of those days, but for the most part,
yeah.
But when I stop working out and I go a couple weeks without working out,
It's so hard to get back in it.
it is hard to get back in it, and it's really funny. This happens. The dangerous part is losing the desire to start again. That's where it's tough. And so I can usually go a week and then and get going back pretty easy. But if I go several weeks, man, that's hard. And so it was funny. Years ago, we did a workshop, and we were teaching on sex and romance, and so we issued a challenge, we had done a 31-day sex challenge, I think, and so and then in this workshop we issued a 7-day because we were meeting the next Sunday as well, and it was at our church at the time.
We couldn't finish it because I broke my arm.
You didn't just break your arm. Bonnie broke her arm in half and had to have surgery and splints and pins and plates, and
We had a reason.
I came back the next week and I showed him the x-ray, and I said, I promise you this isn't because of the sex challenge. That's not how she broke her arm.
It's a lawnmower.
Yeah, it's a lawnmower. And so, but it's kind of the same way, right?
Yeah.
It's the same way with sex is when you get in marriage and life gets busy and you stop, it's very difficult to get back on the horse, right?
Yes, but the more
again.
you do that, the more you desire it.
But the more I was going to say, that's why those challenges are so good, because you desire it more. And it's the same way with eating, right? Once you get sugar out of your body and you start eating healthy, you crave healthy foods.
Yeah.
And so it's very
Same with romance.
kind of similar concept.
But why do you think it's harder after marriage to keep romance alive in your relationship?
Well, there's several things, right? And we've talked, and a lot of these cross over with what we talked about last week in the emotional distance. But man, when you're young, sex is novel,
Yeah.
right? It's new, it's exciting. Like we said, it's driven by dopamine and serotonin and these
Yeah.
drugs. And so, but what happens in marriage is familiarity replaces novelty,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what you, we'll get this in the next question.
Well,
but
and
I
let
think
me
that's
say
one
this:
thing.
we don't want to cross over and interchange the word romance and sex.
No,
No,
I mean,
but
they do go hand in hand, but
Right.
it's not the same thing.
right.
So familiarity replaces that novelty or that that feeling that you had when you were younger.
Well, and I think that whole you get familiar, but when you first start dating the other person and getting to know each other, you're curious about them, and it's like you've got a one-track mind,
Yeah.
and then over time it's like, okay, well, I've gotten more familiar with you now, and I figured all this out, and I kind of have you, and it's not as it's a little
Yeah.
easier to kind of put my focus back on some other things now.
Yeah. Well, and if we are talking about the sex portion of romance, things change as you get older,
yes,
right? And so,
for sure,
physically, psychologically, emotionally, all of that, hormonally, and so it takes on a different understanding, you know. And so, I also think emotional bandwidth shrinks sometimes.
Yeah. Well, you get into a season too. I mean, I think once you start having kids, I think moms go into they feel maybe less like there's less to give romantically because they've got people pulling on them all the time, and they're emotional. This like, okay, the kids are drawing all the emotional energy out of me, and maybe I don't have that emotional or romantic. It kind of dwindles because it's like, who's got time for that? I got diapers to change. I got or kids to drive to stuff. I got meals to make, and it's like, who's got time for that?
That's right.
Just life pressure in general.
That's right. And so when you're exhausted, playfulness feels like effort.
Yep.
It does. If you're like us and most people, you're always on your phone scrolling reels and stories. Well, instead of just mindlessly doom scrolling, check out our weekly marriage coaching. Every Monday afternoon, we drop a new, short marriage coaching video on YouTube. These concise tips and biblical insights will help you reconnect with Christ and your spouse all week long. Well, if you're loving this podcast, you'll love these bite-sized practical videos. So look up the Marriage Adventure on YouTube and give your marriage 10 minutes this Monday. I guarantee you'll feel the difference. All right, so if the romance is dying, we've talked about why. Now let's talk about how do you restart the discipline before the desire, right? Because the desire dies, and so how do you get back on the horse? How do you start the
Being
being romantic again when you just don't feel like it?
Yeah.
Right, and because feelings can't always lead the way.
Yeah.
Sometimes action has to lead the way, and so earlier. I mentioned that familiarity replaces novelty. That's kind of one of those things that one of the reasons it feels harder after marriage. It's just not novel anymore. And so I think what you have to do is you have to intentionally create novelty. And so romance, when you were courting, like you said, limerence, you use that word, which Gary Chapman uses a lot in 5 Love Languages. It's that beginning, the first, it's the dating period, the courting period, the engaged period of your relationship. Man, it's just easy. It just happens. You don't even think about it. And so that's why people feel like, oh, we fell out of love. That doesn't happen anymore.
Man, if you could bottle that chemical and inject yourself with it.
It would be the most powerful drug you could sell.
Exactly.
It really would. But what you have to do is romance and sex can exist in marriage even 20, 30 years into marriage, 10 years, 15 years into marriage and longer. It just has to be seasonal, and you have to kind of create that novelty.
Yeah.
Right? You create those special times. So you go ahead when you don't feel like it and you can't muster up the feelings, you go ahead and you put a date on the calendar. That's easy. You can do that and not feel like it.
Yeah.
Right? Grab your calendar and say, hey, this weekend in May, we're going to put on the calendar to get away.
Yep.
That's
We've done that.
It's a very, we did that for the year. We did that once a quarter for the year. And that's a very easy thing to do and not feel like it. Right?
Yeah.
It really doesn't. Your thumbs can move. And so put a date on the calendar for May and then plan a weekend away. Plan something that's just fun without the kids.
Yeah.
Right? And
the hard part is sometimes we fall into the thing of we're so tired. The fun for us is let's just binge watch. Let's lay in the bed and binge watch because we're so exhausted.
that is fun.
It is fun. I know,
Because
but
other things happen when we do that.
I know.
Right?
Yes.
But yes, you're right. And so maybe whatever is fun for you and what would be what you need, right, to connect. That's really what you need.
Yep.
So you have to be able to do that and create that novelty.
Yeah.
That
Well, and it doesn't even have to be the big getaway. It's like there's small romantic gestures of maybe. I mean, when's the last time, husband, that you walked in the house with flowers, and not even that you spent a lot of money on, but you saw some on the side of the road and you stopped and picked them because you thought of them. I mean, that's
the thinking of you gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The small romantic gesture of, hey, this reminded me of you. That's romantic.
Yeah.
Or initiating the hug, like doing dishes and just coming in and putting your arms around the person. That's romantic.
Yeah.
And so.
Yep. And then asking that deeper question. Asking that deeper question, like over dinner, is huge. And then we've talked about the spiritual connection, praying together.
Yeah,
is huge. Or how can I pray for you today? That's romantic, right? It's so funny, and I think you said this in the last episode, that praying together is a very intimate thing.
it is.
It's so intimate that I suggest to teenage couples, especially the one living in our house, that they don't pray together.
Yeah.
And
You
now,
can pray
if it's
separately for each other.
Pray
but-
separately for each other, or if it's a quick prayer, hey, let me pray over this test for you. That's fine. Don't do Bible studies and don't go into deep times of prayer together.
Sure.
And that seems so counterintuitive. We want a Christian dating relationship. Yes, we do. And I want you to abide, and I want him to abide.
Yep.
Don't abide together.
Right.
Because it's a very romantic thing. And
It is.
can open up things that the enemy can say, hey, guess what? I'll kick that door open. Right.
But that works in marriage
And
when you
that's
pray
what
together.
you want in marriage.
Yes.
Exactly. So reverse that, counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Romance, it's not a personality trait. I mean, there are some people that are more romantically inclined or a little more open emotionally to things.
I think you're going to have the artists that have the artistic temperaments that dream, romantic dreams, poetic and such.
But you can do things. Listen, you didn't. Probably if you're married to somebody who's, let's just take the lady that's married to the guy that's not an artist, and he's very, maybe he
works with his hands,
blue collar, or maybe he's an engineer and he's not, he's not that creative romance guy. You married him because you were attracted to what he was.
Yeah.
You didn't want the romance guy. But so if that engineer or that blue collar guy can tap into 10% of his emotions, that would be like 60% to you, right?
That's right.
And so any ability to say, hey, I'm gonna tap into that, and it's kind of like when the artist says, hey, I'll try to fix that around the house.
Yeah.
You're like,
wow,
okay, that's sexy, right?
Didn't know you had that in you. Okay.
It kind of goes the other way too, right?
Yeah.
I can fix the toilet. Don't worry, I'll figure it out. That's like, wow, okay, do manly things. So it goes both ways.
Yep. Well, and I want to say this, that, sometimes we expect, as wives, our husbands to come up with all the romantic things, and sometimes it's harder for some than it is others, but it's important to understand that, romance is kind of a shared rhythm.
Yeah.
It's something we do together. I mean, husbands, it does matter. Women want to be pursued, and God created men to be the pursuers. He put that in them. He put that in y'all. But wives, we got to respond to it and recognize when they're being intentional. And intentionality, romantic intentionality for one man might look different than it is for another. And let me just say this too. I think that in our modern day of Hallmark movies and all the, Bachelor, all this stuff, women can have this unrealistic expectation of what romance and marriage looks like, and that's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
We fell in love with the person that we're married to for a reason, but then we want them to be like all the other things that are scripted, but that's just a script, by the way.
Well, and it goes the same way. You talk about that with sex and pornography or, different things like that, right? That's not a true representation of what a healthy sexual relationship is in a marriage as well. And so it kind of goes both ways. But romance really grows when both spouses choose to engage over just autopilot, right? Over letting life happen. So, which means you got to create practical rhythms
that you both engage in
your relationship, that you both engage in, and that's weekly connection time, daily check-ins, monthly intentional, weekly intentional dates, and like we try to do a quarterly getaway, different things like that. You have to bring intentionality back.
Well, and even in the small things, just being verbally appreciative of the other person and calling out things that are good when you see them. And, it's just, hey, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that you did that. Even something simple like, thank you for, you took the trash out, and that really saved me some time today. Thank you.
Yep. I think that's really good. Big gestures, they are exciting, and you can put those big gestures, but rhythms are what sustain the romance and the connection in marriage. And so, last week we talked about the emotional connection. This week we talked about the physical romance connection. And those are two of the four key elements for connecting in marriage.
Yeah.
And that's what our new book is about, the connected marriage. And so if you want to dive deeper into this and what we've talked about in these last two podcasts, grab that book. You can go to Amazon. It's The Connected Marriage by Daniel and Bonnie Hoover. Grab that book today, and we think it'll be a blessing to you. So if you're listening and today and you're realizing, hey, okay, we don't need to panic. We just need to restart pursuit. That's actually what we wanted you to hear.
Because what fades from neglect can grow again through intentionality. And romance and marriage isn't about personality. It's about practice.
Yep, those small moments of pursuit, daily connection, intentional rhythms that say, I choose you.
Yep. Well, thanks for joining us on the Marriage Adventure podcast. And remember, great marriages don't happen by accident. They're built through intentional connection.
That's right. We'll see you next time.
We are all